Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of History Before Us, and I am in Florence, Alabama at the Frank Lloyd Wright Rosenbaum House, and I'm here with my good friend, Brian Murphy, no relation. I'm Frederick Murphy. He's from New York, I'm from Tennessee, and we're here in Alabama, top of the morning. It doesn't feel like it, though. It feels like it may be about 12 o'clock because the temperature's starting to rise out here.
Yes, sir.
And I got this hot hoodie on, but we're going to make it work. Brian's a good friend of mine. We've known each other for the good part of 5 years, and I've probably seen him more than I've seen some of my friends that I grew up with at this stage in my life. And so thanks for being here and allowing me to come interview you, brother. So this is a beautiful design, and these homes are across the country.
Yes, sir.
Can you tell us about Frank Lloyd Wright?
Frank Lloyd Wright is, one of America's most important architects. And at this phase of his career, when he's designing these houses, they're referred to as Usonian houses.
Usonian, okay.
And Usonian is an acronym that he kind of comes up with that stands for the United States of North America. And the concept is to create a purely American form of architecture that separates from earlier European influences and designs. Another important thing for Usonian architecture is to be affordable to a professional middle class, where professional middle class people can purchase plans from an architect like Frank Lloyd Wright to design a house like this. The Rosenbaum family, they are the ones who had this building commissioned, and work started in 1939. And the Rosenbaums were a young couple, and they had just gotten married. And the father, Louis Rosenbaum, he owned a chain of movie theaters, including the Shoals Theater that we were at last night. And Stanley, his son, was going to become, he was a doctorate in English. He later became a UNA professor at the University of North Alabama in English. And as their wedding gift, the Rosenbaums lived in that house right over there. So you can see there's a English Tudor Revival style house, and on Riverview Drive, it faced at one point the Tennessee River. And he gave this lot to his son and his daughter-in-law as a wedding present, and they decided that they wanted a house designed for them, right? And they had this friend whose name was Aaron Green. He later became an architect, and Aaron Green really wanted to get into Taliesin, which is the apprenticeship program that Frank Lloyd Wright had. And he kind of pitched this idea to Wright that I've got a commission here in Alabama. If you allow me to come into this apprenticeship, we can make this happen. So Wright never came to Alabama, but he did design the house. And work started in 1939. I think it was completed in 1940, and then there was an addition that started in the mid-1940s and was completed later.
Was that kind of the time period in which Frank Lloyd Wright started, coming up with the creation, and these started popping up across the country around in the 30s?
Late 1930s.
Late 1930s.
And that's when they were really starting to get off the ground. The architecture is defined by this sort of horizontal, organic nature. He really meant it to be in harmony with the landscape and not to be so juxtaposed to the landscape the way some other houses are. So there's a lot going on here that's much different from your average house.
For sure.
The first thing, we're looking at the back of the house.
Oh, so this isn't the front?
This is not the front of the house.
Okay.
This is the back of the house.
Would that be because the Tennessee River is on the other side?
Yes, and he also meant for the public, this is the street up here. He meant for that to be more of the private side, and the public side, or the public-facing side is kind of away from the street and away from these kind of what he almost imagined as these utilitarian corridors.
Well, let me just say this real quick. It would feel weird to say, hey, y'all go in the backyard, and this be the backyard, y'all.
Absolutely.
So this is actually the backyard, which is kind of crazy to think of.
Another component of this design is the use of natural features. It's cypress wood on the siding and local brick that is used for the structural components of the house.
Let's move over here because the sun is.
Yes, sir.
So now people can see. Here you go, y'all. All right, cool. Now you can see a little bit better.
So you know what we're standing under right now?
What's this?
This is a carport.
This is the carport.
This is a carport.
Wait a minute. So was the landscape installed at some point?
Yeah, a little bit later.
I got you.
Yeah.
And I did duck. I'm acting like I'm tall. I'm not, y'all. But I did duck just because I don't want my melon to get hit just in case there's a higher rise in the cement there.
But you're right. When you're standing under here, it feels like an enclosed space.
It does.
And this is a thing that he uses throughout the house. It's called compress and release. And he is constricting certain areas so that you don't want to spend as much time there and you want to move through those to the other areas where there's a release. And you're really going to see that when we walk into the living room and in through some of the corridors in the house. But that's kind of what this concept that we are experiencing right now.
Well, it works for me because I'm like, let me dive and let me get out of here.
Yeah,
for sure.
Absolutely.
Okay, so did you all see the? I mean, this is just when I first saw it because this was the first one that I've ever seen, real, in face to face or what have you, and I was like, wow, that's a pretty interesting concept. And I'll just be honest with my ignorance, I didn't know anything about. I've heard of Frank Lloyd Wright, now that for sure. I just wasn't aware of these sets of homes being across,
Yeah. And again, this is part of a larger vision that he toyed with about creating communities of houses like this on larger plots of land. That really never came to fruition. But the basic concept of this house is a well-designed structure that harmonizes the natural environment with your life. And I think there's a really interesting thing to be said about living in a designed space.
Yeah.
And we're going to see some of that when we walk into the house and when we move through the house. But I would like to say a few things about the construction of the building. So most houses during this time period are constructed with 2x4s, with sill plates, and with roof joists and so on. This is actually, what we're looking at here, this large expansive wall does not have vertical 2x4s. This is held up between the what you see over there, the brick chimney, and the brick chimney in the middle here. So there are horizontal components that are connecting those two, and these walls are kind of sandwich walls that are placed. Yes. Wow. So another component of this, in addition to being organic in nature, is there is a cost-saving effort that he's trying to do here.
Okay.
He created this on a nominal 2x4 plan, and you can see that reflected in these ceiling panels up here. They're 4 feet by 2 feet. This is meant to be a cost-saving effort. So this is meant to eliminate waste. When you're purchasing materials for a house, if you're purchasing them in the exact dimensions that the house is going to be built in, there's a lot less waste than if you were going to do it another way.
Yeah.
So there's a lot, and you're going to see this pattern replicated on the floor inside as well.
So it's interesting because he was putting in consideration the economic factors for people that would be living in these communities. So was the plan for there to be a United States full of these style houses?
I think in his mind, he would have loved that. He would have loved
Wow.
that. But I think we're, on a smaller scale, we're looking at small settlements with different components around them. And he really thought that the houses would dictate the way that people lived. Okay. And he also wanted to build them around what their interests were. And we're going to see some of those components in the house as well.
All right. Now, was the landscape designed was this kind of the setup for most sites?
No.
Most of the homes, or were they all uniquely different?
I think they were all uniquely different. This is a much later rendition, and this has been redone a few times. But I think the overall concept of if you're walking here and you look at other houses, this is sloping down to the house.
Yes, it is.
And then you're stepping down to go into the house.
Yeah.
Whereas most other houses, you're stepping up to go into the house. So he built it alongside the terrain and with the terrain. So minimal, the word I'm looking for, reshaping of the land.
Okay.
And so the landscaping is a kind of a secondary component. Like the landscaping plants is kind of a secondary component to the design. The more, I think, important concept is situating horizontally with the land, capturing a view of what was a view of the Tennessee River, and then working with the slope of the terrain instead of reshaping it in a drastic fashion.
Okay.
So that's one of the things that we are experiencing when we're seeing this very elongated structure for 1939.
And there's no upstairs.
There's no
They
upstairs,
were all
there's
one
no
level.
basement, there's no attic, and there's no basement, which makes this house unique for most houses, certainly of the time period. And yeah.
Okay. So can we get inside?
Yes, sir.
Let's make it happen.
So this is the back door,
Back door.
here.
You all see right here, Rosenbaum House, constructed 1940 and 1948, restored 1999 to 2002. Good stuff.
So as you're walking in, we're going to go in and to the right. I'm going to let you go ahead.
Okay.
And you talk about what you're going to experience this kind of compress and release.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. Right turn. Oh, yeah. Wow. These books, are they original to the home?
Most of these were Stanley's collection. Yeah, Stanley was an English professor.
Wow.
So we walk down this very dark, constricted corridor, and we come to this place. This is the living room, and this is open, right?
Yep.
And his design, this organic blending of the indoor and outdoor is really captured in this room. These are doors that all open to the outside.
These are doors?
Yes.
Okay.
All of those doors open. And the concept was, before the air conditioning system was installed, was you were able to open these doors, you were able to open these windows that would create a breeze that moved air through this place.
Did you all see right here, right up here, you can open it by tinkering with that, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I know that somebody, people lived here, but it's just, it gives this museum aesthetic. And I don't know if I could live here full time. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I wouldn't want anyone touching anything if you came in here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It gives you that kind of vibe.
Well, we ask people not to touch certain things, but other things are okay to touch. A lot of the what you're seeing here, this 2x4 grid pattern, is replicated outside. So he's trying to create this seamless transition between indoor and outdoor. And what he really imagines that you're moving around the house is by moving out of these doors. And so this is the living space over here. Then he has different workspaces. The kitchen is a workspace. There's a utility room that's a workspace. Then there are the bedrooms, and those are separated down this wing over here. Okay. And you're meant to move through those out this way and into the bedrooms over that way. If you can imagine, at one point, this did look out over the Tennessee River. Yeah. You can see there's a photograph of the site over here when they were constructing it.
Oh, right here, yeah. Oh, man, that's a beautiful view.
He did work with his clients. One of the things that Mildred and Stanley were married, and they commissioned this house. One of the things that she insisted on was a piano. So this piano was placed in the house before the walls were constructed because there'd be no way to get it in any of these doors.
No, okay. So this is the family.
That's the Rosenbaum family.
It's the Rosenbaum family.
And you can see there are 4 children there.
Yes.
And in the original design of the house, they quickly outgrew that. So they had to add an addition. So originally the plan was L-shaped. Okay. And then with the addition, it's more of a T-shape.
Okay, gotcha. And I see that there's another room that's down here.
This is the study.
This is the study.
And again, you're walking down, so it's built with the terrain, and you're looking out over the landscape.
This is a pretty nice study, especially if you had the view of the Tennessee River.
Yes.
I mean, it's so detailed, even up to the lighting.
That's a unique design that Frank Lloyd Wright put into every house he designed. So this is unique to the Rosenbaum House, this fretwork right here.
Okay.
And if you go
specifically for this,
if you go to other Frank Lloyd Wright designed homes, you'll see something similar, designed for their homes.
About how many homes, Frank Lloyd Wright homes, are there?
I have no idea. There are a lot that are privately owned. There are many that are open to the public that you can view, but there are a lot more that are kind of privately owned that people are still living in and enjoying. And the Rosenbaums lived here and enjoyed this house. Stanley passed away in 1983, but Mildred lived here until about 2000. So there was only one owner of the house until it was purchased by the city of Florence around the year 2000.
How much research did you have to do on the Rosenbaum home, on the Frank Lloyd Wright homes when you first got here to Florence?
Well, a lot of that work had been done by my colleagues and the people I was trained under. So Jeff Ford is the site director, and he really prepares everyone for the talking points in the history of Frank Lloyd Wright and why that's important and how that coincides with what the Rosenbaums were looking for. And then before him, site directors compiled a lot of research on Frank Lloyd Wright and the Usonian design, and they were in conversation with the family and had a lot of firsthand interaction between them and Frank Lloyd Wright about the construction and design of the house. So a lot of that information was here for us, which we're grateful for.
Yeah, I see that there's some books right here. Frank Lloyd Wright letters to architects and then to apprentices. Where was Frank Lloyd Wright from?
He was from Wisconsin, and he grew up in rural Wisconsin, and a lot of the inspiration of this natural landscape is attributed to his childhood growing up in rural spaces with a lot of natural setting and not an overly developed urban infrastructure that a lot of people are used to seeing. So you can see that influenced in his architecture.
Do you feel that perhaps maybe some of that was due to what city codes may have been in larger cities or in things like that, maybe some restrictions, and in these spaces he's just kind of able to do what it is that he does?
Perhaps. I know that he did design, most of his buildings are in suburban settings, and that really opens up for the greater lot size and the horizontality of lot sizes as well. You've got more room to stretch out.
This is true.
And really, if you think about the ranch homes that are kind of all over the place in the 1950s and 60s and 70s, this was a long time before that. It kind of set off that trend of orienting a house this way on a lot.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, where are we going next?
Let's go back into the living room.
And it does feel constricted right here, you all. It is like a breath of fresh air when you're able to get here in the center. But I mean, hey, he was very meticulous and very intentional about his design, so he pulled it off, at least for me.
To the point where the furniture that you're looking at is meant to be components of the wall when they're not in use. So if you can look at these tables here, and they've got a lip on them, you can move this over to the wall and it'll fit right in that recess right there.
Oh, okay. Okay. I can see that.
So if you're talking about intricately designed details, everything has a place. Everything has a place and everything has a purpose.
Yeah, for sure.
The kitchen over here, kitchen and the dining room, this is all original to the house. I'm going to stop right here. Everything behind me past this way is part of the addition. This is the original kitchen right here.
This is tiny.
And he's known for doing this in workspaces is creating a source of natural light from above. But you're absolutely right. This is a tiny kitchen. It did not work well for the family.
I can only imagine.
And they eventually, one of the
Where's
reasons
the stove?
Why they questioned, it was removed.
Oh, okay.
It was removed after the new addition was built.
Okay, got you. Yeah, this is tiny.
Yeah.
Did he think that family sizes weren't going to be too large? You had this long table. I mean,
yeah,
you got to have a kitchen to match it.
Yeah,
for sure. No, it's cool. I like these too. Wow. Who were the builders? Did he work with the set a number? I'm sorry, a specific construction company, contractors, or
he sent somebody from Taliesin to oversee the construction. And he was sourced with finding local builders and local construction companies.
Okay.
And that was a source of contention, I think, because this is a much different structure than what people were typically used to building. And so that played out a little bit more in the addition that we're going to talk about in a minute, because after World War II, there were a lot more shortages in materials for some of the things that he was building.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so this is the original kitchen, and
I'm thinking about babies and how often they fall as kids, and we have a concrete floor here, you all. So unless you installed your own carpet,
yes, sir. Here's the original bathroom. And so thinking again about the concept of compress and release, that doorway is very, very narrow. But when you get in there,
it opens up.
It opens up.
Yeah, and you got the open skyline up there. This is very interesting.
So now we're going to go down this hallway, which is again narrow, very uninviting.
Yep.
And right to your right here is one of the bedrooms.
Okay.
So it opens up to the outside into the center of the home.
Got a little desk, if you will, there.
And a closet.
Yeah.
Very purpose built. It's not a very big room, but it's everything has a place.
Yeah, everything has a place. And you see the design still has continued throughout the house with that. And the customers were able to pick out that or give him the vision? What type of
I'm pretty sure he
autonomy
designed.
did they have?
He would design that based on his conception of the house and what it needed. Yeah, and there are stories of him, placing particular works of art at a certain place in a house, or and insisting on things being in places in the house. And I think some customers worked with that. Some customers adapted and changed some of that.
Gotcha. All right, bedroom one. So we said that there were 4 kids here, right?
Yes, sir.
Was the addition after more kids were being born, or?
Yes, and so this was completed 1940, and then about 1945, 1946 is the addition. But these are still the original the original 3 bedrooms.
This one has a little bit more desk space.
It does.
Yeah.
Mildred was you could see her loom over here. She was a master weaver. And so this became, later in her life, her weaving room.
Okay. Is this Mildred younger?
Yeah. That's her.
Okay. You see her loom right there, yeah. Most of the folks, whenever they watch my videos and they see the looms, they see the old ones.
Yeah.
They didn't have any of these, any of these things to it, any of these gadgets. They were the old school ones, of course.
When you look back at the house this way, you can really see how it's built within the confines of the landscape and really on the terrain of the landscape.
Yeah.
And the amazing thing that Wright understood about site situation was that the light is going to hit at different times of the year, different times of the day, and it's going to produce different patterns. And it can be absolutely beautiful, some of the shadows and light work that's produced on the walls throughout the course of the day.
For sure. So it's a very intentional guy, that's for sure.
Over and to the right is the master bedroom.
Now, were the beds intentionally, is it, okay, yeah, so it was already framed out, it looks like, as you all see right there. So this was going to be what your bed was going to be.
Yeah.
Low to the ground.
Yeah.
In all homes?
I believe so.
This is how
it
was done? Did you all see a picture of the family again? And I reckon this is Mildred down here at the bottom, older. Did she live here by herself when she?
Well, after her husband passed in 1983, she did. Yeah.
Okay.
And the sons were grown, and they moved out of the area.
And you said that she would give tours of the home.
She would open it up for people, and they would come and visit with her. I think when the house was being built, people would stop by because they were really, really interested in what kind of house was being built here.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
You've never seen anything like this in
Absolutely.
Florence, Alabama, or perhaps in the state. Is this the only Frank Lloyd Wright home in the state of Alabama?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It is. Yeah, we're very proud of that.
That's a reason for you all to come visit. Okay. It's not a lot of storage space in here, that's for sure.
No, there isn't.
And this leads, you have to be a certain size to get out here. You see the outdoor. I mean, was there a height and size requirement as well?
I don't believe so.
Did he do any measurements
I don't
of
believe
that
so.
for the people?
I think if that's something that they had specified, then that would have been something that he would have worked with. But
Yeah.
Stanley was not a small guy. You
Okay.
know, he was a taller guy. And I think that that's something that he had this set designed, and this worked with the grid plan that he had kind of mapped out. But you know, there's something about these ceilings that kind of are at one height over here and then open up into this area here,
Yeah.
where it's really producing this feeling of greater space
Yep.
than maybe there is. And I think that's something that is apparent when you're walking through the house.
Yeah.
But they did need more space, and I'm going to show you
Okay.
the addition.
Okay,
and
cool.
So
But what we just witnessed is all the original.
this is the original house.
Okay,
This is
gotcha.
the original house. So this was an exterior wall at one point. And the addition is in two components. There's a guest room over here, and there's a dormitory kitchen over on the left. And we're going to go into the guest space down here.
Now, who? So after Frank Lloyd Wright was done with the original architecture, did they recommission him for the addition?
Yes.
Okay.
And that unfolded over several years. And again, 1945, 1946 is when the addition was built. This was built as a guest house for Mildred's family. You can see some of the original photographs of the house being built.
Yeah. Where's the closest one outside of Alabama?
Oh, well, there's going to be one in Mississippi, in Jackson, Mississippi, that's going to be open to the public in 2027,
Oh, really?
I believe. Yes.
Okay.
But there are private homes in other places. I think there's a private home in Chattanooga.
Okay.
So that's not too far. That's closer than Jackson. But
Sure.
For homes that are open to the public, I think
Yeah.
the closest one is going to be in Jackson, Mississippi. And we're really excited about that, to have a neighbor a little bit closer by.
Yeah. And this was what was going on here.
This is pictures of the reconstruction of the house. So the city purchased it. It needed some work. There had been issues with the roof. Thankfully, we're in a place now where the roof is very, very solid. And in other times in its construction, it was not. And so that led to other parts of the building deteriorating. That led to mold, that led to rot. And what you're seeing here is images of the restoration. And so the city undertook this restoration, and I'm really thankful that they did.
Yeah,
I
for
think
sure. It's a beautiful space.
It really turned out to be a good, but it was, you know, potentially controversial at the time. People not wanting to spend money on a restoration of this house, but I think in the long run it's paid off, and it's one of the most iconic things about our city.
Oh, yeah,
people
for sure.
realize. And what I've understood talking to community members, it's a big source of pride. So we try to extend that into all the work that we do here. We're doing some restaining right now, which is an important part of keeping the construction and the facade of the building intact. So you can see a little bit of that out the window over there.
Yep, I do see it.
And that's all part of keeping the place, keeping it up, preserving it, and making sure that we're doing preventative maintenance before things become issues, for real issues.
Any oral histories for folks in the community that say, "Yeah, I remember playing in that house as a kid"? And
Oh
anything
yeah,
like that? Should
yeah.
we get plenty of
People do, and neighbors in the area. You know, I've talked to a lot of people who spend a lot of time here,
Yeah.
and even people who are not very old. You know, people, because if she lived here in the 1990s,
Yeah.
and so people remember coming to this house then, you know, and
Really?
interacting with Mildred or having a tour with Mildred, or So yeah, there's a long history of that. They were very social people. They had a lot of people over here.
Okay.
They had a lot of parties over here,
Okay.
and they had a lot of friends. So yeah, so there's a lot of that.
Yes.
Which is great.
Yeah,
Because they're invested in the fabric of the community, and that has in turn led to the community being invested in the preservation of this place. What I do want to point out here is one of the features that Frank Lloyd Wright really kind of pioneered, and that's the corner window over here, this kind of mitered corner window glass, which really draws your eye outward. It's a thing that you don't really see in a lot of architecture, but he does this in a couple of places throughout the house.
Do you know what the intent was for that? Was it just to be different?
I think,
or is it purposeful?
It's very purposeful to draw your eye outward. So when you're coming into this room and you're looking over this space, it's really just you want to look.
It's gorgeous, yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Very Zen-esque.
I'm glad you see it that way.
Yeah, man. You know, as a therapist, you got to sometimes. All right. Well, again, another skinny door.
Yes, sir.
Man.
Now we're going to go back into the second part of the addition.
All right. Cool. Cool. What year did Frank Lloyd Wright pass?
I believe it was 58, 1958.
Okay.
58, 59. So now we are going into the new kitchen.
Okay.
And the dormitory for the boys. So there were 4 boys, and this was a place designed for them.
With excellent lighting. Is there anything outside that, you know, kind of covers it up, that covers up the window, or people have free access the whole time?
When they lived here, there may have been, they'd probably put curtains on it.
Okay.
But yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. Bunk beds.
Bunk beds.
Wow. Kids just have a ball up here.
So this is kind of their own little space.
Yeah. Did these open or no? Just want to get a look and see how it works. Okay. Your games and everything. Makes sense. Oh, Clue. That was one of my favorite games. I remember that one. If any of y'all remember some of these, let me know. I hadn't seen this one. Anagrams? Did you play that one, Brian?
I did not.
Anagrams?
It's a little before my time.
Yeah, a little bit. That's what's up. Yeah. This kind of room, as a kid, if this was my room, I would still be very conservative as it relates to how hard I played. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not quite sure there would be toys sprawled out everywhere on the floor because it just gives that museum don't touch type vibe. You know what I'm saying? So
You're afraid of breaking the glass.
Yeah.
But I think that in Wright's mind, you know, a lot of that was meant to be done outside. And this is why all these doors open to the outside.
And they had nice sized lots.
And they were able to run around out there. And not so much in here.
For sure. A real kitchen.
Here it is.
Yes.
So some of these appliances are a lot more modern. This is apparently the color that was available in downtown at one of the appliance stores. So this is original to the addition, but a lot of the other ones aren't. But you can see it's a much bigger space. But again, the skylight in the workstation is something that is replicated in a lot of his designs. So natural light coming from above is the concept. You want that natural light when you're working.
Now, was this the kitchen? Was this the stove that she used up until she passed? In the 90s?
That's a great question. I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
I don't know that that was a continuously used stove or not. It doesn't look very functional to me. But, but I can't really say.
That's what's up, man. For you, and with the opportunity to educate people who come here and look at this house, and like, for me, I'm like, this is the Jetsons, you know. This is futuristic, even still right now, in 2026. Educating folks on this style of architecture and Frank Lloyd Wright and the person that lived here who's part of the community. For you, what is it that you always look to leave with individuals who come and visit and are inquisitive about the space?
That's a great question, and I think that just an understanding. I remember the first time I came in here, and I was like, "Wow, you can design a space that makes you feel a certain way,
Yeah.
and it makes you experience, makes you slow down, makes you notice things." And that was really interesting to me because before that, I didn't really think about what is a space, what is a room, what is a kitchen, what does that look like. Being in a place that's thoughtfully designed and detailed, where every little component speaks to a larger concept,
Yeah.
is fascinating to me. And I think that what I want people to know is that this isn't necessarily out of reach for a lot of people. And designing spaces with your the best version of your life in mind is a really, I think it's an important part of life, of being able to be in control of where you want to live and how you want to live. I think that is something that we try to get out and try to put that message out of like that there's an opportunity there. And if you think about people who are confined to certain spaces and what that does to a person, restricted to certain spaces and what that does to your mental health.
Yeah.
And then you think about the way that this house, that you're interacting with it, and then the way it makes you feel as you're walking through it, as you're living here, as you're sitting here, as you're having a conversation with somebody here. There's a big difference there.
Big time.
And I think that's an important thing. And it's not that, oh, this is so great. This is only for a few wealthy people, but I think it's challenging people to find that peace in their own lives and that space in their own lives.
Yeah.
That's what I personally would want people to kind of take away from this.
Yeah, and I got another question as well. So, of course, being in the South, you all get another view down there. Being in the South, we have plenty of antebellum style homes and, different architecture that was done pre-emancipation and, post-emancipation. How does this allow you all to be more eclectic as it relates to the historical structures in Alabama?
Absolutely.
Right? Because that's huge, right?
Yeah.
We're used to seeing certain type style homes, but this kind of shakes all that up.
It does. And it speaks to a very specific historical period that we're allowed to elaborate on. And the reason this is all here, the reason the Rosenbaums were here, has to do with federal involvement in the nitrate producing facilities that were located here after World War I.
Okay.
Or during World War I, which eventually led to the construction of Wilson Dam, which is a dam about 3 miles down here on the Tennessee River, and the location here of the Tennessee Valley Authority. Okay. So in the 1920s and in through the 1930s, there's a lot of change happening in Florence, where there's federal money being invested in this area and a lot of people moving into the area. And that's where the Rosenbaums come in. Okay. And that's also where you get new ideas, and you get new concepts, and it marks a different period of life within the city of Florence, Alabama. Yeah. And I think that's an important story. I think that's an important one that's kind of often forgotten, is that there are these windows of you want to call them externally reinforced progress or something along those lines. And that's happening here in the 1920s and 1930s into the 1940s and 50s, which is an important marker in our city's history, in our city's past.
Yeah, most definitely, man. Let people know hours of operation and where they can find you online, and any annual programming or anything like that you have here with the house or just with the city in general as it relates to history. Because Brian wears a lot of different hats, and he's over a lot of sites. So shout those sites out as well, brother.
Yeah, so we're part of a museum system. So we're owned and operated by the city of Florence, and we have 4 sites. Frederick has been to all of them. They include the Kennedy Douglas Art Center, which is a free art center right downtown in Florence, Alabama. The Florence Mound and Museum, which is the site of an indigenous earthwork along the Tennessee River that was built about 1,700 years ago. Pope's Tavern Museum, which is also downtown, that talks about early Alabama history. We talk about slavery. We talk about construction methods. We have an active archaeology program I'm really proud of. And those are our 4 sites that are owned and operated by the city. So I say that we are very lucky to have a city of 40,000 where we have 4 museums that are municipally owned and operated, and that are preserved and maintained the way that they are. So we're very fortunate for that. Our hours of operation here are Tuesday through Saturday, 10 to 4. We're also open Sundays, 1 to 4. We do programs throughout the year. We get about 10,000 visitors a year, so it's difficult for us to do programs because we're constantly booked up with tours. But we do things like we had a tea out here on the terrace. We call it Tea on the Terrace. We want to do more events out here on the lawn. We're thinking about community picnics. We had a book club that met here. We're looking at children's programs. And Anna Peoples, who's our museum educator, she has done a few story times here. There's a story time at the museum, and there's a small activity, and they read a book. And our art director, Jenny Dawn Stuckey, she's also created some component exhibits that have been featured in this house, like we were talking about a little bit earlier. So a lot of interaction with the other sites, a lot of interaction, hopefully, when community members have ideas they bring to us. There's a yoga studio that they wanted to do something here.
And we helped on that lawn. That'd be perfect.
Absolutely. So I think part of it is we want to come up with ideas, but we also want to support community ideas when they align with our mission, and that's an important thing for us. So wrightinalabama.com is our website right now, or you can go to www.florencealmuseums.com. It's kind of different. When you search Florence Museums, it takes you to Italy, so it doesn't always take you
right.
first, but,
the big Florence, right?
Yes. But if you search Rosenbaum House in Florence, you'll find us.
You'll find
so,
Okay, good stuff. Well, listen, Brian, I greatly appreciate it. And like I always tell you all, if you like this type of content, please make sure to subscribe and share. And even though you all watch this video in its entirety, I hope, we still want you to make sure that you visit these sites, because it's nothing like stepping into the site. Consider this an appetizer, right? This is a gateway for a deeper understanding of this history. And when you're able to interact with somebody face to face, like Brian, who has a wealth of knowledge about these sites, it just makes it that much better. And so listen, I thank you for watching. Please make sure to subscribe, share, and consider becoming a member. Peace and blessings.